It's your boy Crypto Blood, and guess what? I gotta stay fly. What's going on, people? Welcome to another episode of my Tusato. Sheesh. And today we're gonna be talking about ICOs and my thoughts about an article that I saw yesterday regarding regulatory, the regulatory future of ICOs and what it means for companies in the past that have done an ICO and companies going forward. I've always thought that ICOs were considered securities, and we're going to take a look at a few things and I always want to hear what you guys have to say. But first, before we get into things, jump over to cryptoblood.io and pick you up one of those Christmas holiday teas we got going on. They're really selling pretty well. Just put them out last Thursday on Thanksgiving, and you guys seem to be really receptive to them. So get over there to cryptoblood.io and pick you up a couple of those. You'll get 500 Crypto Blood tokens for free if you pick up a t-shirt or 2 t-shirts or more. Hope you guys are doing well today. I'm just getting things started here. No coffee yet, but I do have my cigar from yesterday that I'm smoking on, an Illusion Cruzado. Very good stick. Shout out to my people in the Webbot room too. I see people are using Lisa's new sticker pack, which is fire on fire. She even has a Webbot tee on in her sticker, in her caricature drawing, which is just so dope. Shout out to Lisa and the whole Webbot crew. Ron, well, I see you out there too. But yeah, man, today we're going to be talking about ICOs and whether or not they're securities. And I want to share with you guys a few things. We'll go through the definition of what a security is out of Investopedia, and also some other information that will, help you just expand your knowledge about this space, this new space that we're in. It's so early in the game, but you might as well soak up as much knowledge as you can regarding the space. But first, I want to take a look at coin market cap. We are currently sitting at 321 billion for the entire market cap of cryptocurrencies. Bitcoin's dominance is up to about 54%, which is up a nudge from yesterday. It was roughly around 53%. Bitcoin is sitting at almost 10,400, which is around close to, at least it's close to, and I think on my Bitstamp exchange price, we'll look at the chart next, but I think it's close to that Fibonacci level that I talked about, that I thought we would see a decent pullback shortly thereafter that occurs. So let's take a look at that. Yeah, so on Bitstamp we have that level. The Fibonacci is at roughly 10,278. If I scroll over here, you'll see what I mean here. There's a Fibonacci extension. Yep. All right, so I think we'll see a pullback here. 10,000 is a huge psychological hold number, and that area, at least, we may do a couple circles around Jupiter. Check out that red dot, and then we're gonna head back, I believe. Maybe not all the way back to Mars. Here's Mars down here, but I think we'll have a decent pullback. As you can see, as I drew here a few weeks ago, that line there is very high in its degree. So this is unsustainable. So we'll see a break of this line, and we'll see a pullback, something like that. But we're doing well, people. A lot of people coming in from the holidays. You know, people huddling up around the dinner table talking about cryptos, and those that weren't in it probably start going out and buying. And I think we'll get a repeat of that at Christmas as well, going into the new year. So let's just keep an eye on that and see how things go. But yeah, today we're going to be talking about this article out of Cointelegraph, and the title of it is "ICOs are absolutely securities," says former SEC boss amid crypto boom. So Joseph Grundfest, commissioner for the Securities and Exchange Commission and now Stanford Law professor, says that initial coin offerings are an almost comedic violation of securities law and should absolutely be regulated immediately. He's so convinced, in fact, that he has been contacting the current administration to pursue them. Man, what a cock block, I tell you. Just, I don't understand. But the guy goes on to say, ICOs represent the most pervasive, open, and notorious violation of federal securities laws since the Code of Hammurabi. We're awaiting to see a whole bunch of enforcement actions in this space, and we wonder why they haven't happened yet. I hope what they are doing is planning on a sweep of 50 ICOs. So the article goes on to talk about the SEC already pursuing action on fraudulent offerings, and other nations have strictly forbidden or warned against ICOs as well. However, the SEC has remained relatively unflustered, with the notable exception of the statements regarding the DAO. The new investment vehicle has managed to generate a stunning $3 billion in investments through 2017. Most offerings are seeking to make careful inquiry into the jurisdictions that are safe, but many continue to maintain relatively open-ended offerings. Whether Mr. Grundfest is correct regarding the SEC's course of action remains to be seen, but the general tenor of the government sector against ICOs may be starting to shift toward enforcement. So yeah, it's this is interesting, because I was talking to a buddy of mine. This was like maybe 2-3 weeks ago, and I was like, man, I really think ICOs are securities. I'm not even gonna lie to you. He's in the banking industry, more so not on the investment banking side, but more reinsurance, I think. But he has some understanding of some of this stuff from a regulatory standpoint, and I had to kind of understand some of it, not so much from a security standpoint, but when I was dealing with getting the series 3, you know, I had to understand some things and whatnot. But I feel like these ICOs are definitely securities, and the reason is the way that individuals buying them are treating these tokens. And I mean, if you look at just a straight definition of what a security is, and we'll look at that in a minute here, you'll see it doesn't seem to really fall into what a security is. You can have either like an equity be a security, or you can have a security be a debt. And it's definitely not the debt side, but you would try to, one would think it would be under the equity definition of a security, and it really doesn't fit it all the way. And let's go ahead and take a look at that. And this definition I brought up is from Investopedia. So it says here, what is a security? A security is a fungible, negotiable financial instrument that holds some type of monetary value. It represents an ownership position in a publicly traded corporation via stock, a creditor relationship with a governmental body, or a corporation representing represented by owning that entity's bond or rights to ownership as represented by an option. So it kind of goes on to, as I've kind of told you guys, explain that, you know, equities can be, not equities, but securities can be kind of categorized into two different types. One being equities and one being a debt. So an equity security represents ownership interests held by shareholders in an entity, a company, partnership, or trust, realized in the form of shares of capital stock, which includes shares of both common and preferred stock. Holders of equity securities are typically not entitled to regular payments, though equity securities often do pay out dividends, but they are able to profit from capital gains when they sell the securities, assuming they've increased in value naturally. Equity securities do entitle the holder to some control of the company on a pro rata basis via voting rights. In the case of bankruptcy, they share only in residual interest after all obligations have been paid out to creditors. So as we can see here, you know, these tokens don't give you any voting rights, right? You don't have any control in the company, and some of them do, you know, do have dividends. But if you read that, you know, it really doesn't it doesn't ring out securities, right? But what many of the companies, the ones that are on top of their game, have done or are doing is doing what's called a Howey test. And I want you guys to go do a search for SEC versus Howey. This was a case back in 1946. They kind of established the groundwork or framework for how to determine whether a security or a financial asset instrument is a security or not. So check that out if you guys want to know more in detail about that case, SEC versus Howey. But when I'm going to read you, I typed up some points on the Howey test, and I'm going to read that to you. And now after reading that, you let me know your thoughts on whether or not these tokens, ICOs and post ICO, if these tokens are securities or not. So let's take a look at that. So here's the Howey test. So under the Howey test, a transaction is an investment contract if, number one, it is an investment of money. So you can think of ETH as money. We're giving these companies or sending these companies via smart contract. We're sending ETH, and in return, we're getting a token, right? So I would say that's a check for that, right? It is an investment of money. Number two, there is an expectation of profits from the investment. Now I know, you know, we've had Mike B and even Andreas BTC consultant or consult, I should say that you should invest in companies not for the profit, but to help them build out their project. And I told you guys before, I didn't really agree with that ideology, that mindset, that philosophy. I think 99% of us are looking for some type of appreciation above and beyond the principle that we put in when we, you know, participate in these ICOs. And I would say that's probably the consensus. Like that's probably the attitude of more than 95% of the individuals that participate in ICOs. They're looking for some type of financial gain, you know. So that's number two. So number three, the investment of money is in a common enterprise. So that's true as well. We're putting our money into a particular project or company. So that kind of checks that off, in my opinion. And fourthly, any profit comes from the efforts of a promoter or third party. So we as token holders don't help the price appreciation of that token. It's more so on the end of the company, right? Through their marketing channels and efforts to attract more business, even if that business is only to utilize the platform. Well, there's a utility token. That's how most have, tried to get around saying that they're a security, is that their token is represented and used as a utility, meaning you have to use that token in some form or fashion within their ecosystem to operate. But therefore creating, it really creates a demand though for that token. Hopefully it will. And so with demand, supply and demand, we know how that goes. That's economics 101. More demand for a fixed number of supply units, price is going to go up theoretically. So I think that kind of follows that point. And then the final factor of a Howey test concerns whether any profit that comes from the investment is largely or wholly outside of the investor's control. If so, then the investment might be a security. If, however, the investor's own actions largely dictate whether an investment will be profitable, then that investment is probably not a security. So I think that point also kind of it rings true in my opinion. I believe the former part of that last paragraph is that the profits, any profit that comes from the investment is largely or wholly outside of the investor's control. I would say so. That the performance of that token is not predicated on us, is more predicated on the company to deliver some type of service, as I stated before, marketing, so on and so forth, to then create a demand for that utility token, which will then appreciate. You'll see price appreciation in that particular token. So to me, I think all 5 points are checked there in my opinion. And so I don't listen. I'm not for regulation at all. I actually despise it. I think most regulation is unnecessary and just a way to steal from the masses in some form or fashion, or to pick sides and really kind of ring fence the elite so that they benefit mostly from any type of financialization or economic growth in that term and from that perspective. So I'm not for it. I'm just saying that if you look at what the SEC guidelines are and SEC versus Howey, that Howey test, many of these companies fall under being a security, and I think you'll have a scenario where the ones who had the big money went out, got the legal teams, basically paid to play. I think they'll be overlooked, but the ones who got it out the mud, grind, had a great plan for marketing their ICO, and kind of just did it from scratch organically, they're probably going to get hit hard in my opinion. So I would love to get more feedback from you guys on whether or not most of these tokens that are out here, these ICOs, fall under the SEC securities law or terminology. So I would be very curious to know what you guys feel about that. Like I said, I think it is, unfortunately, but it's going to be interesting to see what happens. We're in a new paradigm, a shift in how money is created, is moved, is exchanged, and even further than that, how value on particular companies are created now. Like we have, you know, no longer will we have your traditional stocks in the future. I think will be more of a tokenization of companies versus your traditional stocks and equities. So I feel like these dinosaur agencies like the SEC, CFTC, and all these guys, man, they got to play catch up. But I think they're so inefficient and big and unnecessary that they'll forever be playing catch up. And I don't think they'll be successful at. They may come down with some rules and stuff, but it'll be interesting to see. I'd love to get your feedback on ICOs. Are they securities? If not, why do you think they're not securities? I really want to get your feedback from that, people. So I think that's pretty much it for today. I just wanted to kind of throw that at you, get your feedback on that, and make sure you do like and subscribe. And if you do subscribe, make sure you click that bell so that you are alerted for every video that Crypto Blood puts up on YouTube, people. So that's pretty much it for today. I am out. Holla.